Okay. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our Tuesday, February 9th, 2021 Public Council meeting. We had a quick change in format today with the recent updates from the Chief Medical Officer of Health, and we felt that in keeping with that, we would go to a Zoom format tonight. I want to thank staff for getting to that fairly quickly today and being able to move on that and get us so that we could have our public council meeting. As per usual, if you have a question that you'd like to ask in the Q&A, please send it to apico@torbay.ca and we'll do our best to answer it for you during our meeting. Also like to mention and welcome MHA Kevin Parsons is with us tonight at our meeting, and we're going to get an opportunity to let him say a few words. And I guess with that, I will do my go around and I will start with Councillor Pollard.
Just thanks, please, Craig.
Okay. Thanks. Councillor Dorangas.
Pass.
Councillor Roach. Councillor Roach. You're muted, Peggy. Can somebody unmute Peggy, please? Councillor Roach.
I got it done now.
Did you want to
No.
something for the go around? No.
No, just pass me by.
All right. Thank you. Councillor Martin.
Just a thanks.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, please.
Okay, and I got a thanks. All right, could I get a motion to adopt the agenda as amended, please?
So moved.
Councillor
Second.
Martin.
Second.
Seconded by Councillor Pollard. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. All right, thank you. I would ask that everybody keep their video on if they can, so I can see hands being raised, and keep muted unless you are ready to speak on something. All right, so we have a set of minutes there from January 25th, 2021. Could a motion to adopt those, please? Just a hand is good enough, and I'll acknowledge you. Councillor Roach, motion by Councillor Roach, second by Councillor Martin. Any errors or omissions? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Proclamations, presentations. We got two proclamations to do tonight. One, Violence Prevention, Avalon East Violence Prevention Month 2021. And I would ask Councillor Dorangas to go ahead with that one. You're muted, Mary.
Okay, try it
All
again.
right. Okay.
Torbay Proclamation, Violence Prevention Month 2021. Whereas the Violence Prevention Initiative of the Government of Newfoundland and Labrador is based on a vision that the people of our province will live in safe, caring communities where there is an inherent respect for each other and violence of any sort is unacceptable. Whereas the solution to eradicating violence against those made at risk in our society, women, children, and youth, Aboriginal women and children, persons with disabilities, other persons, and others who are victims of violence because of sexual orientation or economic status, is through a collaborative effort between the provincial government and the community to improve services and to educate all residents of our province about violence prevention. Whereas the province of Newfoundland and Labrador, with its community partners, have been working to improve services to victims of violence and violence prevention programs for many years. Whereas the province of Newfoundland and Labrador promotes self-reliant, healthy, educated individuals and families living in safe, nurturing communities. Whereas the province of Newfoundland and Labrador have made a commitment to partner with the community to seek long-term solutions to violence.
Therefore, I'm pleased to proclaim the month of February 2021 to be Violence Prevention Month. I encourage all residents of the town of Torbay to recognize that violence prevention is everyone's responsibility and support violence prevention activities in our community. So moved.
Second.
Comments? Deputy Mayor?
If I could, Mayor. This is something that I feel very strongly about. Violence is never okay. Absolutely never, ever okay. And I just want to make sure, I'm very proud, number one, that our town is having this proclamation tonight. But I also want to make sure that people know there is help out there. Doesn't matter how dark it seems or how bad it seems, there's always help. And reach out. People are there, they want to help, and it doesn't have to stay that way. So if you're experiencing violence, or for anyone who's in a violent situation, just know that that it can get better. And I'm glad to see that our town is seeing this as a valuable item for us to discuss and raise awareness about. And I'd like to see us share some communication, maybe if we could this month, around violence prevention and communication about where people can reach out for help. That would be some good communication for us as well. So that's about it for me. Thanks, Mayor.
Yeah, no worries. Good. Anybody else? I would say that these proclamations, and I say it all the time, they're important. They're important to show that our town is committed to working with the groups who put these in, and in particular the provincial government, to raise awareness and to offer assistance or help, or anybody that comes forward to members of council or staff or whoever, your neighbor, to make sure that there's outlets and places for people to go that need help. So I think it's very important that we do this, and it's nice that we raise this awareness, and I'm proud to continue on doing it. So with that, I would call for a vote, please. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Nobody? Passed unanimous. Thank you. Deputy Mayor, proclamation for AY Week 2021.
Thank you, Your Worship. Okay, the proclamation for Allied Youth Week 2021, changing with the times. Whereas Allied Youth is an organization for people grades 7 through 12. Whereas Allied Youth posts are in many communities throughout Newfoundland and Labrador. Whereas Allied Youth is celebrating their community and school involvement. Whereas Allied Youth encourages members to make choices that reflect a healthy lifestyle. Whereas Allied Youth encourages members to educate themselves on issues facing youth today. Whereas Allied Youth allows students to run their own post and make decisions at the post level.
Therefore, I declare that February 7th to February 13th, 2021 be Allied Youth Week in Torbay, Newfoundland. So moved.
Second.
Comments? Councillor Martin?
Apologies, I thought we were voting.
Okay.
If I could speak to that, Mayor, for a second. That's twice.
Sure.
Sorry, back to back tonight. But this one's important to me. I've seen firsthand the great work of Allied Youth in our communities and in our region. And I was fortunate enough to attend one of their events when we were allowed to actually get together and hold events. And it's remarkable to me what the youth achieve. They work together as a team, they volunteer in our communities, they fundraise, they participate and support all kinds of community initiatives. And the leadership that is gained and the friendships that are gained from the work that's done here is just amazing. So I'd like to do a shout out to the leaders and the people who are working with the youth. I'd like to mention Mr. Walter Hammond. He does fabulous work with Allied Youth, and a lot of our community volunteers have and continue to do so. And I'd like to thank the members of our allied youth within our community and also within our region for the good work that they do. And I just think it's fabulous to have a program like this in our region. And thank you for all you do. That's it for me.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? Well, I'll just say a word about it. This Allied Youth one is important to me. I'm happy to be, I guess proud to be, a member of the very first Allied Youth post that was in town of Torbay at our school at Holy Trinity. Would have been all grade school at that time, I guess, way back in the early to mid 80s when we first established it, and it's been going strong ever since. And my daughter is a member of AY this year, and many of her friends, and we've seen a lot of youth from not just from our town, but from surrounding towns that are included in that AY post, volunteer at our town events and at other town events throughout the region. So, it gives them a good opportunity to get on the ground and meet people and show what they can do. So I'm very happy to be putting this one forward. And with that, I would ask all in favor. Aye. Opposed? Carried unanimously. And thank you very much. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Presentations. We don't have any presentations. And do we have any questions submitted?
There's no questions submitted.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll move on from that. At this time, I'm going to invite MHA Parsons, if you'd like to say a few words to our millions of viewers watching our meeting all over the world, particularly the ones in Torbay and our in our district. Kevin, take it away.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Scott. I'd like to thank the town of Torbay and Mayor Scott and the council for giving me this opportunity to say a few words, and I'll promise there'll only be a few words. But I really want to thank the mayor and council and former mayors and former councillors over the last 12 and a half years that I had a chance to work with and do what I feel we accomplished a lot over the last 12 and a half years in Torbay. And it's all about working together, about getting things done, and nobody does it themselves. It's got to be a bunch of individuals that get out there and do the work. And when you do work together, things get done and things get resolved. We had, over the last 12 and a half years in Torbay, when I first became MHA, there was a lot of things on the go from my predecessor, Mr. Jack Byrne, who was a great MHA. The Jack Byrne Arena was just cleaning up, and we've seen the success of that and what that's meant to the entire area. The bypass road at the time was just getting really started, but all the preliminary work was done. But we made a lot of changes when the bypass road first came in, and one of the biggest changes that we did make was getting the lights installed, because first when the bypass road, they had a four-way stop signs at the Indymeal line and the Bali line, and residents on the Indymeal line in particular put together a petition, and it was headed by Krista Miles up in Forest Landing. I'll never forget it. The first time I ever met her, and that was it. She was like a dog with a bone. Nobody was getting it from her, and we had to get it done. And that's what you do. You work together. You get a group of people, and things get resolved. And we did get the lights installed, and we all know the benefit of the bypass road. And there's a lot of things that happened in Torbay over the last. A new depot got, there was something that was needed. Torbay had a lot of needs there. When you look down behind the town hall and saw what was down there, and now you look at what the workers got in Torbay right now, it's a state-of-the-art facility, and a lot of work went into that also. The new community center in Torbay, it's a beautiful spot, and we haven't really seen it, what it can do and what it's going to mean to the people in Torbay yet, but I know we will in the future. Torbay has a great town. It has a bunch of great volunteers. When I look at volunteers in Torbay, I look at the volunteer fire department and look at people like Mike McGrath and what he's done over his tenure as an original member of the fire department, and he's been there that long, but it's a very dedicated group. They service the town that I live in, Flat Rock, and I feel really comfort in knowing that they're there, because, you know, nobody knows, nobody wants to know when something's going to happen that, you know, you need people like them, but they're fantastic. The Lions Club in Torbay is another group that have started only recently, but they're doing great work in the town. And there's a lot of volunteers. I go back to how we went and got the new school in Torbay. We did a lot of work, and it was done through the volunteers and the school councils. At that time, we were turned down, but there's 3 school councils in the area came together and said, listen, we're going to do this. We don't care where this new school gets built, as long as it gets built. And the 3 schools in the area, Cape St. Francis School, Holy Trinity High, and Holy Trinity Elementary, came together, and we worked as a team with the town council and with members of the town. And I know Brian's on there tonight, and Brian played a big role in all the parts that need to come together in order to get the road in there, in order to get everything hooked up properly. And it was all by working together that we got things done. And I'm very proud of the things we've accomplished in Torbay. And Torbay, like I said, I always get up in the House of Assembly if anybody watches it, and I'll always say the beautiful district of Cape St. Francis. And I really believe that. And I just like to, you know, there's a lot of things that we need to do with Torbay. There's things that will be done in the future, but you can't get them all done at once, since everybody knows. And this year I was hoping to see the sidewalks, but the money is being allocated for that. And Torbay is, you know, when you drive through Torbay, you can see why there is a need for sidewalks in Torbay. There's 2 schools that people walk alongside the road, and we have a lot of hills, the Northside Hill, the Piper Stack Hill, going up by Liddy's, everywhere else. When we do get rainfalls, everything gets washed out. So hopefully in the future, when those sidewalks get installed, it'll be a lot safer for people walking down the roads in Torbay, and it'll make the community even a little bit better. But again, I could go on all night, but I'll just slow down a little bit now and just say thank you very much to the residents in Torbay for what you've done for me. You supported me for the last 12 and a half years, and I got to say, the kindness and the gestures that people have shown me from Torbay and from the whole area means a lot to me. I'm retiring from politics, but I'm not retiring. If somebody in the town of Torbay thinks that Kevin Parsons can help them in any way, or might know somebody who can, or may know a phone number, don't hesitate. Most people have my cell phone number. I'm keeping the same cell phone number. So if you want to pick up the phone and call me, if I can be any assistance, I will. I appreciate the support that you gave me over the years, and if there's something I can do for you, I'll be there. Good luck in the future. I hope everybody, the main thing is these days, we all have to stay safe and make sure that our neighbors are safe, our friends are safe, and that all residents in Torbay are safe, because we're going through a time now that's a little bit nerve-wracking for a lot of people, especially seniors. So if there's something you can do to reach out, do it, and we can all get through this together. Stay safe, town of Torbay, and thank you again for all the support and kindness you've shown me. Thanks.
Thanks, Kevin. Now, don't hang up. Hey, you know, I want to reiterate some of the things that you said. You know, I've benefited over the last 7.5 years that I've been on council from your help with when you were in government, introducing me to members of the opposition, and when you're in opposition, introducing me to members of the government. And those relationships that I've been able to build because of the ones that you had are a good example of how you can get things done, even if you're not in the government. That's how you were able to pull a few strings, or I'll say it like it is, to get us that funding for sidewalks that we've been trying to get for a long time, and finally we're able to do that. And to your point, this spring, hopefully we're going to see that project started, and once we're started, I don't see how we can stop until we get the length of the town, hopefully. But it's going to be a significant project. We've done a lot of projects in the last 7.5, 8 years in particular, and you talked about a lot of them with the depot and community center and our town hall renovations and the trails that we've been doing. And you know, you are always there to help us and provide guidance and advice when we needed it. And you know, we really appreciate that. I really appreciate it for the personal relationship that you and I have had, and that you've opened me up. Now that even though you're retiring, you're not going to be gone, but you're retired, that those people that you introduced me to that are in the government, that are going to be MHAs, that I have the phone numbers of, that I can reach out to, that's going to be very important for me and for our town as we go forward. And I know that the mayors in the other towns probably have a similar expectation or a similar advantage that they're going to have, just because of the simple work that you put in. And everybody that you talk to knows that Kevin Parsons was able to work with everybody, no matter if they were in the government or the other party or whatever. And I think that's a testament to the relationships that you were able to build. So I thank you for that. Thank you for joining us tonight on behalf of the residents of the town. And I invite anybody else here on council, if they'd like to say a few words, to put your hand up, let me know, and we'll let you move forward.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Worship. Kevin, I'm not one to give up a chance to have a few words ever, but I couldn't let you off the line without a huge thank you. When I first got elected, we were trying to get the emergency lights over at the Juniper Ridge School, and I remember going to my very first MNL event, and Steve Crocker was the minister at the time, and you did everything you could to make sure that we had the support we needed to get those lights approved through the provincial government, where it was a provincial road. And I'll never forget the work that you put into making sure that that was done, and that we had a safe crosswalk there for the youth in our community to come back and forth. I think about one of my first few meetings with the Jack Byrne Arena board when I joined out there years back. You never missed a chance to be there if you were needed, to help, to stand up and say, yes, I'm here. It's a regional infrastructure. What do I do? And you've always been such a solid, sound person to reach out to when I needed advice, especially as a new council member trying to find my way. I also wanted to mention the sidewalks. I know people might not understand how much work you put into that, but we had an application in trying to get the water sorted, and we weren't able to make that work with the funding. But you and Minister Bragg, Derek Bragg, the two of you worked so well together, and you came to us and said, we can find funding, we can help you with this. And we turned that around a week working with you guys. It was just remarkable. And I promise you, those sidewalks are coming. I will ask every single council meeting from now to the spring about those to make sure that they stay on track. And I am very much looking forward to seeing those sidewalks in Torbay. And I promise you, my friend, every time I either walk into the community center or I look at those sidewalks or the Jack Byrne or how many other things that we have in this community that you've been a part of and a support to make happen, Kevin, I'll think of the work that you've done. There's a lot of people in this town, in this region, who are very appreciative of what you've done. And I definitely am one of them. So I just want to thank you for everything that you've done. Thank you for being a fabulous friend to me, to council, and to so many in this region. And I wish you a wonderful retirement. And I promise you should never have told us that you were leaving your cell number the same, because you're going to get a call or two looking for some advice as it goes. But I wish you nothing but a fabulous retirement. And with that, I'll leave it to the members of council to share their thanks and best wishes.
Thank you.
Councillor Martin.
Thank you, MHA Parsons. I also wanted to express a thanks to you for your service over the years, as well as helping out with council. It's nice meeting you. You've often been known as a constituency person, not a politician. And, you'll certainly be missed. And whoever your successor will be will certainly have big shoes to fill. And I just want to reiterate a thanks for everything. I won't repeat everything that's been said, but I'll echo the gratitude, and I wish you all the best in your years to come.
Thank you very much.
Anyone else? Mary? You're muted, Mary.
Somebody keeps muting me because I keep on muting myself and leaving it alone. Anyway, heartfelt thanks, Kevin, for everything that you've done for the town of Torbay. And you just went over, referenced the number of things that you've done and made the comment that you're proud. And so you should be proud for everything that you've done for the whole district, not only Torbay. And personally speaking, you've always been there to help out when you could, listen, give advice. And I just want to wish you all the best in your retirement. And you're going to be truly missed. It's a sad day for District of Cape St. Francis, the day that you finally finish up. But all the best to you, Kevin, and thanks again.
Thanks, Mary.
Tony?
Yes, I just want to relay, exactly what everybody else said in terms of the years of service. I can only imagine what pains and anguish that brought along the way. Granted, there was great times. I'm sure there were some bad times as well. One thing I will know, Kevin, for the short time that I've known you is that wherever I've been, people always spoke very highly of you. And I think that, in your own thoughts and moments, that you should take that away and cherish that amongst everything else. I think everyone that I ever spoke to thought the world of you, and you were always there at most events that I attended. And that goes really, really appreciated by everybody. I certainly want you to enjoy your retirement. I think that's important. Once you get to a certain stage in life, it's time to step back from, obviously for you, the political sphere at the present time, directly involved. I know you'll still be on the fringes and helping out where you can, but take time for yourself to enjoy the grandchildren and to enjoy your time in retirement. And thanks very much.
Thanks, Tony.
Thanks, Tony. Councillor Roach? Is she still there? I'm sure that at some point you'll be talking to Councillor Roach. She seems to be having a technical difficulty there now, Kev. But,
okay, no problem.
thank you for joining us tonight. You're welcome to stick around for the rest of our meeting if you want, but you don't have to. I know that you got a lot of stuff on the go.
No problem. I'm going to head off, but listen, thank you all for your kind words. And again, if there's any assistance I can give to people in Torbay or the town council, maybe you might want a bit of advice sometimes, just pick up the phone and give me a call. And just stay safe, everybody.
Thanks, Kev.
Thank you. Bye now.
All right. All right. Thank you to Kevin Parsons for joining us. Little interlude. It was nice to be able to pass along those sentiments and for him to have an opportunity to be able to speak to our residents, certainly, and anybody else who might be tuning in to watch this video. Mayor's report. I really don't have much to report. Only I spent a whole week full of hives and had some kind of allergic reaction that was not good for a week, but I'm feeling a lot better now. But I will mention birthdays for the month of February. So I have Michael Barron, Infrastructure and Public Works, Lisa Lewis, Infrastructure and Public Works, Bobby Goss, Infrastructure and Public Works, and Councillor Peggy Roach is our February birthday. So happy birthday, everybody. Now, back to my... All right, any business arising from those minutes that we passed from our last public council meeting? Seeing none, we'll move on to correspondence. We don't have any correspondence this week. Imagine. All right. Committees of council. Committee to hold minutes. We got 1, 2, 3 sets of minutes for committee to hold. We have one for December the 14th. Could I get a motion to adopt that, please? Councillor Martin, seconded by Councillor Pollard. No, is there any motions or anything in there? No, so it's just standard set of minutes. Any questions or comment? No, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? None? Carried. Committee to hold minutes for January 25th. We discussed there's a motion in this one that we already passed and I'll just read it out. It was a motion by Councillor Pollard, seconded by Deputy Mayor. Resolved, Town of Torbay enter a tax agreement as presented regarding property located at civic address 1020 Northbound Road. So it was passed unanimously. We have to confirm that at our meeting here tonight. Do we want to, we just need to adopt those minutes, I believe. So can I get a motion to adopt those, please? Motion by Councillor Pollard, seconded by Deputy Mayor. Any comments or questions? No, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you. And we have a committee to hold minutes from February 1st, 2021. I'm just having a quick look here to see if there's any motions in there. No, this was the meeting about our economic development and tourism economic strategic roadmap. Can I get a motion to adopt those minutes, please? Motion, Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Torngas. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Planning, land use development. Councillor Martin.
Thank you. Pardon me, it's just a moment now, adjusting back to remote meetings. Okay, first I will go into the motions report.
Before we do that,
Excuse
I'm
me,
just going to
this-
interrupt you for 1 second. And I'm
Certainly, go
hoping
ahead.
that everybody looked at the list of applications that are there to declare if there's any conflict. But you can declare your conflict when the motion comes forward. Councillor Pollard.
Yes, Your Worship. Just on that note, there's a reference to a motion for Town of Western Coast St. Phillips. I'd like to not vote on that if possible for a potential conflict of interest, being that it affects the town that I'm CAO in. There's another one in the admin of finance that is essentially a payment of an agreed upon amount that I don't think I'm in conflict in because it deals with pick overage. So I'd like to not vote on the planning development one, but certainly stand for the admin finance one.
Okay, once the motion comes forward, at that time, council will take a quick vote to declare that you're in a conflict. And with the other one, we'll do the same. And if you declare that you're not in conflict, so to make sure we get that looked after correctly.
Mayor, about the Canada Post one, I'm going to have to declare a conflict there as well.
Yeah,
So
well,
I'll just flag that now when we get to the motion. We can address it then.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Carry on, sir.
Thank you. So these are the committee meeting minutes of February 2nd for the meeting that was supposed to be held on February 8th. And so it's for all council. It's the Planning, Land Use Development Committee motions report. Myself as chair, Councillor Thorngas as a committee member, and Director Shorts attended to make up the entirety of the committee. The first one I have is application D 2021-004, and it's a proposed traditional agriculture application for chickens at 26 Martins and Doyle's Lane. It's a RMD and RI land use zone. It's a discretionary use application. A very brief background: the town is in receipt of the application proposing to keep chickens for personal use at 26 Martins and Doyle's Lane. Currently no more than 6 chickens, no roosters. The application's for a backyard poultry, which is laying hens. The property consists of approximately 4 acres of land. A detailed background report and committee meeting minutes are attached for reference, which form part of this motion. Committee did discuss the file at our committee meeting, and we did consider the information provided and noted that there have been chickens kept on the property for a number of years to the new regulations coming in prior to the new regulations coming into effect in 2018. Committee further noted that there has only been one representation received in response to the public notice, which cited no obligation to the proposal as long as there were no roosters. So we acknowledge that, as well as the agricultural history of the town, and we have no objection to permitting the property to keep their chickens. The motion as presented to council is to conditionally approve application D 2021-004 in accordance with regulations 33 and 90 of the Torbay Development Regulations 2015 to 2025, and to issue a conditional approval in principle for keeping of 6 chickens at 26 Martins and Doyle's Lane, subject to the proposal meeting standard conditions for the keeping of chickens in the town of Torbay. So moved.
Second.
Okay, moved, seconded. Any comments or questions? I have a quick question and a comment, I guess. I just want to make sure it's on the record. I had at least 2 extensive, and I'm talking hour-long phone call conversations with a resident from that area over the last couple of months. And I know that they were talking to staff as well. And I encouraged them, as this application was coming forward, to submit any concerns that they had when the notice went out to the residents in that area. And I just wanted to confirm if this was that the same resident, Julia, or was someone else that sent in their concern with regard to the rooster?
Different person. So the other resident did not reply to the public notice. However, their concerns and the correspondence and so forth are all attached to the background report. So this is a different person in the neighborhood, and they don't have any issue with the proposal, don't have an objection as long as that there's no roosters. So they had some noise concerns if there was to be roosters.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I was clear that that person had the opportunity to voice any concerns, and we did take them into account, all the correspondence that we had between them. So I just wanted.
Yes. Yeah.
All right, thank you for that.
Okay.
Any other comments or questions? No? Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on, application C 2020-181, which is 11 Country Drive. It's an infill lot, substandard rear yard setback. Background: the town's in receipt of an application proposing to construct a service single-family dwelling at 11 Country Drive. Applicant is requesting a reduction to the minimum required rear yard depth from 9 meters to 6.5 meters. Applications to reduce the rear yard depth requirements and construct a single-family dwelling at 11 Country Drive were previously approved in 2017, 2015, and 2013. Condition number 16 listed in the RMD land use zone table grants council the authority to consider this proposal. A detailed report and flood committee meeting minutes are attached for reference and form part of this motion. We concluded the following recommendation, which is to have no objection to the proposal and concur with the department's recommendation for conditional approval. Motion as presented to council. Motion to conditionally approve application C 2020-181 in accordance with condition 16 of the RMD land use zone table and the Torbay Development Regulations 2015 to 2025, and therefore issue a conditional approval in principle for the construction of a single dwelling with a reduced rear yard development standard of 6.5 meters at 11 Country Drive, subject to the submission of more detailed grading information for review and approval, and no further variances being able to be considered for the subject property. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any comments or questions? No? Okay, all in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? Carried. Unanimous.
Excuse me. The next one is application C 2020-004, which is for it's a property located on Wilderberry Lane Extension. It's a 6-lot residential subdivision. The background: the town's in receipt of an application for a proposed 6-lot residential subdivision at the west end of Wilderberry Lane, submitted by MAE Design Limited on behalf of 75462 Newfoundland and Labrador Inc. The proposal is for a 6 unserviced building lots on Welland Septic and to extend Wilderberry Lane, ending in a cul-de-sac at the municipal boundary between the town of Torbay and town of Portugal St. Phillips. The proposed single dwelling use is permitted. Use in regular residential designation of the Torbay Municipal Plan and in the RLL use zone of the Torbay Development Regulations 2015 to 2025. A detailed background report is also included, as well as minutes. After discussion, the committee discussed the information provided in detail, including associated land use, stormwater, and groundwater considerations. The committee noted that the proposed use is a permitted use and concurred with the department's recommendation for a phased and conditional approach. A phased permitting approach is recommended as outlined in the attached background report. Therefore, the committee recommends tabling the following motion. Motion as presented, motion to conditionally approve the development of a 6-lot residential subdivision unserviced at the west end of Wilderberry Lane, application C 2020-004, with a phased permitting approach and subject to the development meeting a number of conditions as outlined in the attached background report. So moved.
Second.
Moved, seconded. Any questions? Council Pollard?
Walbury Lane, that's in this
Fourth
Western
Avenue.
Pond area?
Yeah.
Right on the back of that. Does that do anything to help resolve any of our issues there with the zero net runoff if they have to build and that type thing? Detention ponds, and does that assist us at all in some of our stormwater issues, do you know?
So,
Go
sorry.
ahead. Go ahead, Director. No, that's fine. Go ahead.
So the development would be subject to meeting storm detention requirements, zero net runoff, and also to meet the provincial requirements in terms of groundwater assessments. So they did do a phase 1 study, and they do have to prepare a modified phase 2 to be able to confirm that there are no issues from a groundwater perspective. In general, what I've been advised is that, so this is at the far western extension of Wildberry Lane, and that some of the issues that are being discussed are just a tiny bit further to the east in the Skipper's Landing area. So it's in that general area, but it's just a little bit further to the west. It won't solve these 6 lots, and the engineering of it would not solve any problems that are currently in process of being addressed in the Skipper's Landing area. That's kind of a separate approach.
Thank you. I think, yeah, maybe we'll just bring it up at Public Works as well, so that PEC engineering, when they're designing the stormwater management plan, or when they're doing design work, that they know that subdivision is going there and may have some potential impacts down there, and they can use that in design. I just want to make sure that we don't, double pay for something or do something that's going to counteract whatever remediation that's put in this particular application. Anyway, thanks for that. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you.
And then just one quick, the PEC engineering did review this, so they are aware. So, and they provided commentary on it. So in general, just to let you know that they did have a review of this proposal.
Thank you.
Okay.
Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. I share concerns about the development in this area from a water perspective as well. I do understand that the stormwater management issues that we currently have are being addressed by the stormwater management plan. But my thought of, there being more of the hillside being taken away, which means the trees, the stuff that would be there to hold that water in a storm, is not there. I want to just make sure that, you know, similar to other work that we've done the last couple of years, that we are going to ensure that those engineered drawings are done, making sure the calculations are done, making sure that, you know, the right sized retention ponds are there, making sure that as that land is being cleared, there's a plan in place for that water retention, not water retention ponds going in after that land is cleared. Like, I'd like to get a little more information around how we're doing that and how we're making sure that for the people who live in Forest Landing who may be impacted if this development were to go ahead, that infrastructure is in place if we're going to approve this. Because I wouldn't want us to be grubbing that land and then, you know, cleaning it off, and then we have one of these 100-year storms and Forest Landing be impacted. Because that is the area of our community that is first identified as a priority in our stormwater management concerns. And then if we're going to look at this now as a potential development, I want to make sure that that in no way impacts those people, so that, I mean, there are people down there right now with their homes surrounded by water, standing water. So I want to make sure that we've got that consideration made. And I want to make sure that I have a guarantee, if I vote to support this, that the town will make sure that the inspections are done in a timely way and that these things are kept up, so that, you know, once if approved, those retention ponds are checked, the drains are cleared, all the stuff that needs to happen is done to ensure that the residents who are, again, underneath the hill from this don't have any water damage concerns to have to worry about at night. So if you could speak to that, Julia, maybe, and talk about our plan. I know the engineering side of it, and I'm really glad we're raising the bar and we're requiring storm net zero runoff and those sorts of things. But the details, so the residents who live in Forest Landing could understand a bit better what the things to mitigate those risks, I'd appreciate some information on that before I vote.
Certainly. So the proposal is to do a phased approach. So the developer, to be able to determine the issue with the groundwater and how high the groundwater is, and if there's any concerns about, let's say, developing that area from a well and septic perspective and general level of groundwater, they are required by the province to do what's called a modified phase 2 groundwater assessment. So for that, as you, based on the report, basically years ago, there was kind of a road cleared that was cleared without permit way back when, and which the developer was stopped. And so in general, the developer has to go in with a small access road, which has already been cleared because of that non-compliant work, and put in, I think, three observation wells that have to be monitored for 6 months. So they're monitoring this for 6 months. They're submitting basically an engineer or a geohydrologist has to prepare this, submit this to the provincial government for review. Then they are determining if there are any concerns in around a potentially high level of the groundwater. So, because that's what some of the concerns that were raised. And, you know, I from a staff perspective, really try to listen to this, because I know people who have a lot of knowledge of what's happening in the area. So, so step number 1 would be to get engineering drawings submitted and approved, and for the developer to put these monitoring wells in and have some securities in place to ensure that should the province say you can't go any further, like that doesn't really, it's not going to work in terms of the groundwater, then we have some securities in place to redress the area, and the developer can pull out of there. However, so if province says, well, it's gonna go ahead, like it can work, then we as the town would move to the next stage and ask the developer to submit the detailed storm calculations. And they now have to meet latest climate change data runoff calculations, and they have to detain the water so it does not run off in a flash flood. So that's the town's requirement, and from a staff perspective, we'll make sure in consultation with our consulting engineer that those requirements are met. And then once we know how the developer is planning on detaining water, how they're going to engineer the subdivision in terms of grades, and as per our development regulations, you cannot negatively affect a neighboring property owner. So all these things that's where the phased approach is coming from. It's a bit of an interesting situation. But I think we got all the checks and balances in place to either give the developer the go ahead to move to the next detail and the next detail to then ultimately be able to issue building permits if all works according to plan. And from a planning perspective, that would be, I guess, a good, because it would finish off that area of the subdivision, right? It would bring it to the municipal boundary, and then that area is completed. But if Water Resources says and Service NL say there's concerns with the groundwater, you cannot proceed, then that's when the lid gets put on and the matter doesn't move forward.
Yeah.
Does that answer questions?
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay.
Do anybody else have any questions or comment? No, okay, all in favor?
Me.
Oh, go ahead, Mary. Oh,
I want to say on the October 21st, and it's in our package there, where Planning and Development sent back to the applicant, and there was a number of conditions that had to be met, and about where this had been sent to with regards to Water Resources. And there's any number, there's 6 conditions that had to be met before this even came to council, which relates to the water issue. So while there was a motion in there, there's a lot of information included in the package, and especially this letter that was wrote on October 21st that answers any of the questions and the concerns that any councillor may have. So I think that it's worthwhile reading over those, in addition to what Julia touched on most of them, but it's there in writing. So if anybody wants to reference that, feel free to do so.
all right, thank you. Alrighty, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried, unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you. The next one is from the town of Portugal Cove St. Phillips.
So this
It's
is the one that,
referral to, oh,
Just-
sorry.
before you move forward, this is the one that Council Pollard might be in a conflict on. And this is one where we're for no objection to. Okay. Tony, why do you feel you're in a conflict on this one?
I don't think I should really speak to it because it's
Okay.
approval of a development. It's sort of like me saying yes to something that was the from Torbay side of things, looking back in and saying, yeah, it's kind of, it puts me in an awkward spot, I think. I just
Okay, fair enough. I accept that. Anybody else have any questions? So we need a motion to declare Council Pollard in conflict on this one.
I'll move that, Mayor.
Deputy Mayor,
I'll second it.
seconded by Council Martin. And do you have the motion there? Just a motion that Council Pollard is declared conflict of interest.
I do have it. Thanks.
Okay, all right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? carried. So Tony, you can turn off your sound and screen there now, and I'll text you when we're ready. All right, go ahead, Councilor Martin.
Thank you. So this is a referral from the Regional Plan Amendment of Old Broad Cove Road East Development Scheme. The background on this one is the committee was briefed on a referral relating to a proposed regional plan amendment within the municipal boundaries of the town of Portugal Cove, St. Phillips. The proposed the proposal is to redesign and rezone an area of land between Old Broad Cove Road and Round Pond Road to a proposed development scheme area called Old Broad Cove Road East Residential Development Scheme Area. This includes the redesignation of 78 hectares of agricultural land to a residential development scheme area, as well as other redesignations that include agricultural to residential mixed use and protected watershed, as well as residential to mixed use and protected watershed to residential development scheme area. The removal of the agricultural designation is in keeping with the provincial direction on the matter. None of the amendment area is located within a Torbay watershed, nor is it located close to the Torbay municipal boundary. A detailed background report and committee minutes are attached for reference and form part of this motion. The committee considered the background report provided on the matter. The committee concurs with the department and cites no objection to the proposed Old Broad Cove Road East amendments and recommends advising the town of Portugal Cove St. Phillips of the same. And the motion as presented is to respond to the referral by the town of Portugal Cove St. Phillips in writing, advising that the town of Torbay has no objection to the proposed Old Broad Cove Road East Development Scheme amendments. So moved.
Second.
Moved, seconded. Questions or comments?
I have a
Deputy
question.
Mayor.
I'm just curious to see this agricultural land. Has it been used as agricultural land in the past? Do we have any understanding of that?
The plans that I saw looks the area is pretty much forested, so it's not used for there's no fields showing or anything like that.
I couldn't tell from what I was looking at in the package, but I just know. Sorry.
Right.
Okay. No, I just know that, agricultural land is something that once it's gone is gone.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a very limited supply of it on the Northeast Avalon. So I just wanted to flag that as a concern. We've got 90% of our food being brought into this province. And if anything we've seen in this last year has been the impact of disruptions to our supply chain. And as someone who's done some work in years past around agriculture and scarcity of land and resources here, I'm concerned about voting to take land that's suitable or has been used for agricultural use and turn it into development for residential use. So I'll just leave it there. I just wanted to see if it had been used in the past, like what implication our vote would have. I know the town of Portugal Cove St. Phillips at the end of the day will make the vote on what happens with the land in their town, but I just wanted to raise that before we vote on this ourselves.
Did you want to respond briefly on that?
I'm just curious to know. I mean, I'm really concerned about to say we have no problem to rezone agricultural land to residential use without a better understanding of what's left of agricultural land in the region. I mean, if things change, if there's any ability to use that or for someone to look to use that, do we even know how much available agricultural land we would have? I know we have some active farms in our town, but what resources are there? If we are we taking, hectares again away from potentially making sure that we'd have resources for our own food supply? I don't know the answer to any of those questions. I'm just raising that as a flag and asking the question. Do we have enough information to say that we're okay with this? Are we, as a town, okay with that issue? I don't know. I'm just asking the question of council and raising the point in debate.
Just a little bit more background information, some of which is included in the background report that the town of Portugal Cove St. Phillips forwarded. So a few years back, so in 2013, the provincial government had a commission that reviewed this matter. And so this particular area was one of the areas that the province had recommended could be removed from the agricultural reserve. Now, what is interesting is that a few years have passed since, and the whole matter of food security and awareness in and around food security has certainly become more, everybody's more aware of that. I mean, it's certainly a question that could be asked of the province. It's certainly a question that could be asked. However, the town of Portugal Cove St. Phillips is just acting on the current direction that's in effect that was provided from the province.
So we did something very similar to that in 2015 when we created our new town plan, when we adopted it. We went back and reviewed all the ag areas that the province had taken out of agriculture, and we rezoned them to different uses. I think we did some rural, maybe, but we removed it from agriculture because that was the direction that we were given by the province. Looks like this is very similar. So I have no issue with it. Okay, any other questions? Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Deputy Mayor opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you. The next one, I believe, was also mentioned as a conflict, so I'll yield it back
We got to
to you,
get
Mayor.
Councillor Pollard back now.
Okay.
Excellent.
He's back.
Okay. All right. And the next one is about Canada Post, and Deputy Mayor
There's a declared conflict.
is wondering if she's in a conflict. My own personal opinion, I don't see how there could be any conflict there. I know you work for the federal government, but Canada Post is its own separate corporation. It is an entity of the federal government, but I don't see any financial benefit potentially to you to deal with this.
No, but as a federal employee, I wanted to ask the question on this of council because I am a federal employee and I don't want to vote on something to do with a letter that would be going to the federal government from the town where there could be any perception of conflict or, anything that there doesn't always have to be just monetary gain for me. It's that perception as well of conflict with my employer.
Okay.
So I'll raise the question to council and let council make the decision. But I do want to ask the question if there's a potential for conflict for me in being a part of this this motion and this discussion.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Oh, we need a motion. Somebody want to do a motion? Motion to declare Deputy Mayor is in a conflict of interest regarding this.
I can do one if you want.
Okay. Councillor Martin.
Or Councillor Zorngas had her hand up before me. Sorry.
Okay, moved by Councillor
And you're
Martin,
muted.
seconded by Councillor Thorngas.
Okay.
And what does the motion read? That Deputy Mayor is in a conflict?
Motion reads that the deputy mayor is in a conflict of interest regarding Canada Post.
Okay, so if we agree that she's in a conflict, we vote in favor of the motion. If we agree that she's not in conflict, we vote against the motion, right? All right. So all in favor of declaring Deputy Mayor in a conflict on this particular vote? Say aye.
Aye.
Shouldn't we speak to it first?
Yes, you can speak to it first. Yeah, sorry.
I mean,
Go ahead.
I worked for the federal government for 35 years and I've never once, on any occasion, anything that came up, even when it came up from the post office before, and a conflict is if it's directly affecting your department, or with, I guess, with Deputy Mayor or the Department of DFO. But unless it's something that's there, it was never considered to be in a conflict of interest.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
I was just supporting the motion because the deputy mayor did have a concern and raised it, where it does affect her employment and her personal life. I just supported it on that merit. I don't have any other opinion.
Well, we haven't kind of voted yet, but I tend to agree with Mary.
Well, my intention,
Right.
my intention to support. Yeah.
All right. Tony?
I don't think that Deputy Mayor is in conflict, but, I don't have any problem with her abstaining from the vote in this particular circumstance if she feels so inclined to not vote on this one. How's that for walking the fence?
Well,
That's not what a conflict of interest is.
no, I tend to agree with Councillor Thorngoss that council needs to decide whether or not the deputy mayor is in a conflict. I don't feel that she is, and I know that she's not doing this, but there is always the potential that we had to be careful that a councillor potentially might declare a conflict just to get out of making a tough vote. This is obviously not a tough vote, so it's not circumstance. But I don't like to be to make it easy to be in a conflict. It really needs to be clear, I think. So I don't think that she is. But does anybody else have any comment? Councillor Roach, you're on mute. Councillor Roach, you're on mute. There you go. Oh, Councillor Roach, you're still on mute.
Unmute now.
Okay, you're good now.
Okay. I don't think that she's in any conflict of interest, not in the least.
Okay.
So I vote with the.
All right. So all in favor that Deputy Mayor is in a conflict? Say aye. Okay. Opposed? She's not in a conflict.
I'll
Or
go with
against it. All right.
Against.
Okay.
Again,
Carried. So you're not in a conflict, Deputy Mayor?
declared by council.
I'm happy to vote on it. I just want to make sure that I've asked the question ahead of time. In
All
case
right.
whenever came back and wanted to know if I clarified it ethically. That's all. Thank you.
It's
Fair.
always good.
Okay, thank you. This one is.
Can I interrupt for a quick second?
Yes, Anne?
Sure.
Mayor, can you confirm the vote because I couldn't see
It was unanimous.
everybody's screen?
Unanimous,
It was
sorry.
unanimous. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you. This one is concerning Canada Post, and it's the local location on Torbay Road. Background: Canada Post made the town of Torbay aware that they're considering relocating their existing post office on Torbay Road to a different location 4 meters south, which is closer to St. John's, due to on-site congestion issues, and that they're planning on selling the existing building in the long run. Canada Post is currently proceeding with a public consultation process regarding this matter. There is attached correspondence. Committee did express concerns all around about the proposed relocation and fears it might mean a permanent closure of the post office in the near future. The proposed location is going to be rented and not an owned brick and mortar business by Canada Post. The committee cited that the post office services not only Torbay residents but also Flatrock and Balleen residents. And I'd also like to mention that it also services Logan Bay, Middle Cove and Outer Cove residents, and therefore constitutes much larger consideration. The committee has a concern about the proposed closure of the existing site, with Torbay being one of the fastest growing communities in the province, and recommends the post office remain in its current location serving the region. And committee has come up with a recommendation, and the committee recommends that the town of Torbay write a letter to Canada Post expressing a concern about the planned closure of the existing post office building and relocation to a different location for reasons outlined above, and recommending that the post office remain at its current location on Torbay Road. Therefore, the committee tables the following motion. Motion as presented. Motion, the town of Torbay writes a letter to Canada Post expressing concern about the proposed closure of the existing post office building and recommending that the post office remains at its current location on Torbay Road. So moved.
Second.
Moving and seconded. Comments, questions? Go ahead,
I have
Deputy
an
Mayor.
opening.
Oh, go ahead,
I-
Councilor Martin. Go ahead, Councilor
Sorry.
Martin.
Thank you. I just wanted to give everyone some food for thought on this. Canada Post, I guess, has their own criteria for public consultation, but a poster went up in the post office on February 2nd, February 1st or 2nd, to have feedback in by March 2nd. So there is a bit of a time restraint there. But when we had discussed this and afterwards, we'd also did some additional research, and the current location's been there since the 1970s, and before that, it was within a very close radius of the existing building when it was in back in the days, probably even before Confederation, when post offices were at residential properties. It's always been in that area for quite some time, and through different conversations we've had with people, there are a lot of people that walk there every day, and especially elderly people that walk there and check their mail. Right now the shoulder of the road is not great, but as the MHA Parsons noted earlier in the meeting, that he was able to work with us to get sidewalks installed, and the deputy mayor noted that she's very much so looking forward to those sidewalks. This will be a added safety mechanism for the current location. So, it's up to Canada Post to look at any expansion of that facility, but, we can do the best we can within our means, which is a letter. The current location that they're looking at proposing to move is out behind the Bottle Depot on Torbay Road, which is about 3 kilometers from a post office in St. John's, and doesn't offer any safe space for a pedestrian to walk out there. It's a heavily congested area and so on and so forth. So before everyone goes to vote, I wanted to put that on the table so you have some food for thought. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. To Councillor Martin's point, there's a couple of things I want to note here. From the correspondence that I have seen, my understanding is that the issues here are capacity issues, not wanting to not service area, not wanting to leave the town of Torbay. It seems that the actual capacity of the physical building and the ability of it to be able to allow for the logistics of the current increase of online shopping, mailing, and those sorts of things, especially that have happened with COVID. It makes sense to me that the post office would flag this and say, we're having an issue with the space that we have, and we're struggling to meet the needs of the region. I'd also like to note that they are looking to, yes, rent a space in the town of Torbay, but I'd like to note that there's a lot of places across this province where the government of Canada have long-term leases in place and stay within the community. So I think that it's a positive that the post office is interested to remain in the town of Torbay. I feel that if we're going to have a letter, I think the letter is to invite them to have a further discussion with council. I think we want to secure, I think our interest is to secure that the post office is going to have a long term residency in our town. And that is the discussion I feel that's at hand. But if they are citing that the building doesn't have the space for the growth that's been in the community in the last 10 years, we've almost doubled our population. Now with COVID and the the issue at play there with the increased amount of online shopping, shipping, and traffic that's coming through Canada Post. I feel that the other thing we need to think about is the ability of employees. If you need more employees in that space, are they able to be physically distant? Is there enough room there for safe retrieval of mail, those sorts of things? So I think there's a broader discussion that needs to happen here. And I'd like for this letter to express concern, but also to open a dialogue to make sure that we've got a clear understanding with them about what their plans are and share our concerns that way. But I think that, you know, if it's worded that we're concerned that they're moving from the post office building, we need to think about the fact that there may actually be real logistical issues that they're facing there, that maybe we need to work with them to look at other options or see how we can support keeping them in our community. I'll leave it at that.
All right, thank you. Anybody else? Mary?
When I first got on council, this came up as an issue with regards to them cutting back on services, and they were looking at that point in time, they were going to close. And I guess Mayor Power at the time wrote back with a number of different reasons why it shouldn't. And at that time, I know he had said about one of the fastest growing communities. And while the current location may not be the size, I don't see that there's anything wrong with adding a new piece on or looking for something that's in the center of the community. After all, it is servicing Flat Rock and Baldine. What concerns me is that it's basically on the borderline of St. John's, and it is a rental and a parking lot that's extremely busy. And I guess where we have so many of our seniors and so many people that's going there, it's also crossing over a 4-lane highway. And that to me is a concern. I'm really concerned about the way that they communicated this to the public, because I had heard about it, I guess, through the mayor, and went looking for the notice only to find that it was on the bulletin board and that it hasn't. I know I personally haven't received anything in my mailbox saying that the post office is moving. And I'm sure that there's other residents are not aware of it. And it's such a small time frame to go back with any concerns. And surely, God, with a community our size, that there should be a piece of property if they can't renovate the current building. And as for issues with COVID and what have you, by the time that they get out there, that's one issue that I'm hoping in the long term that it's not going to be a reason for moving on the borderline of our town. And you know, I think that the residents, we owe it to the residents to let them be informed properly about this. And we can look at any number of reasons and say that it's going to be still in our community. But the fact that they brought this up in 1997 or 1998, that they were looking at closing then, and it's only a matter of time, there wouldn't even be a building that they would have this shut down at that point in time. So I think that it should go out, with regards to writing a letter, it should be communicated to all residents. And that we need to look at what options that they have actually considered and if it could remain in our community. So whatever way this letter needs to be wrote, I think that we haven't got much time to get back on it and have it communicated to all residents.
Anyone else? I got a couple of comments.
I had a closing comment, but I can go after you if you want.
I thought I could make a comment first, so before that.
Oh yeah. I just wasn't sure how you went. Go ahead. Sorry.
So, since I got this letter, I reached out to some employees that work at the post office. So, first and foremost, when I look at the information that were sent to us by Canada Post, nowhere in there does it suggest that they have any intention of closing the location in Torbay. The issue they have now, they got like seven employees. Some days they has more than that there. They have 5 parking spaces. It's not a safe location right now for how much they've grown. And just to reiterate that in January 2018, their weekly average for parcels was around 615. This year was over 2,900 parcels. So they definitely need more space. I understand where they're coming from. I'm glad that they're not closing the post office that's within our town. I think that it's fair for us to go back and ask for some clarification on their plans to what to do with those, I think, around 500 mailboxes that are within inside the post office. I went out and visited the proposed location that they're looking at. Once you get in behind there, it's not that busy. The location is actually quite big, and I guess there's potential there to even enhance their services. I'd like to ask the question of what about the customers from Luggy Bay, Middle Cove, Outer Cove that currently now have to go out to Windsor Park somewhere to pick up their parcels instead of coming to Torbay because they don't have the space when their post office services them. So I don't mind communicating with Canada Post, but what we do communicate needs to address the issues, the facts that they deliver to us in their correspondence that they sent. And I mean, we can't add anything of our opinion in there that they may close or they may do whatever. There's nothing in here that I read that indicates they have any intention of that whatsoever. Yes, it's on the further south of the boundary of our town, but it's still within our town. So, you know, I think that my concern is a bunch of issues here. Concern with the safety of the employees that work at the post office. If it's not a safe location, they don't have enough parking. Safety of our residents getting in and out of that location. Those are issues that they brought up in their letter. And the fact that the place is just too small, they can't handle the capacity right now that they have. So, you know, it's kind of outside of our mandate a little bit, but I think that in concern for the residents, I have no issues with sending them a correspondence based on those things, asking those questions. But I don't think that we should be elaborating any further on it than that. So. You know, I had to look back at that motion to determine if I agree to express concern about proposed closure. This is a recommendation. The post office. I have an issue with recommending that they remain in their current location based on our own opinions and not the facts of the reason why that they outlined in their correspondence of why they feel they need to move to a new location. So I have an issue with trying to tell them that they can't move. You know, that's the only concern I have.
Mayor, can we entertain an amendment to the motion?
Anybody can make an amendment at any time.
Because I
If you want to
feel,
make an amendment,
yes, please. I
go
feel
ahead.
the motion as written, I can't support for exactly the same reasons that you just stated. I feel, though, that the motion, if it were to be amended, recommending that the town of Torbay has further communication with Canada Post about its plans to remain in our community and expand business offerings to the people in our community and region, then I could certainly vote for that. I do hear Councillor Thorngoss when she says, you know, any concern about the Torbay post office not being in the community. I share that concern, and I feel that a further discussion with Canada Post and Council would be good. And I think a letter to invite them and to share our interest to ensure that they stay in our community and provide expanded services is something we're certainly willing to work with them and do what we can to support that. So if we could make an amendment to the motion, take out the fact that that we're telling them to stay in their current location, but we're asking that there's a meeting and a continued discussion about how we support them staying in our community and providing those expanded services. I think that would be a motion that I could support.
Did you want to propose that amendment? What would it look like? Well, how would you reword it? It can't be a friendly amendment because removing that piece at the bottom changes the nature of the motion, so it would have to be amended motion, I think. Am I right on that, Ann?
And could you give us some guidance?
That's correct. You need to either withdraw the motion and do a new motion.
Okay. Well, you can make an amendment to this one if you want. If you think you can reword that, Deputy Mayor.
Town of Torbay write a letter to Canada Post expressing concern about the proposed closure of the existing post office building and request a meeting with Canada Post stating council's interest to see the post office remain in the town of Torbay and to have an opportunity to discuss the location and expanded services of Canada Post in our community and region. Would something like that work?
I'd like to make a comment when I may.
So anybody second that amended motion?
Second.
Seconded by Councillor Thorne-Goss. Any discussion on this?
I have a comment.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Thanks, Deputy Mayor, for your efforts. I just want to note, I also, as the Mayor mentioned, he talked to some staff. I also talked to some staff down there as well, and they were also concerned about some of the commentary that came from committee. So it's not just committee being biased. It's common information. With regards to the motion, there's 15 business days until March 2nd. And if we were to write a letter, it goes up to, I believe it's Richmond, Ontario. So, we have to keep in mind timing of preparing a letter and sending it and actually getting there in time. Also, I'm concerned about, committee was concerned about, the advertising and the time restraints, which I've already contacted MP Harris's office about. Likely this meeting right now, this discussion, what's going to come in minutes and in any applicable follow-up conversations is probably going to be the most exposure that this matter's even gotten. But what we're doing a motion for is to write a letter with feedback to Canada Post's proposal to close the existing building and move it to Southern Torbay. I have no problem omitting and recommending that the post office remain at a current location in Torbay. I have no problem omitting that, but I would like, I don't want to withdraw this motion. I would be open to an amendment to write a letter expressing to Canada Post expressing concerns.
Councillor Martin.
And
Councillor Martin.
Yes.
There's a motion on the
Yes.
floor right now, an amended motion, which you're supposed to be speaking to.
Yes,
Right.
and I am speaking to it. I'm telling
Okay.
you what I'd like to see as what I'd like the Deputy Mayor's amended motion to include. I would, the town of Torbay write a letter to Canada Post expressing our concerns, and I would also like that amendment to include, as the Deputy Mayor mentioned about accommodating capacity concerns, and staying in Torbay, but also still being very accessible to Torbay. So the Deputy Mayor's highlighted good points, but I'd also like to see in there expressing the accessibility concerns to Torbay. I believe that's a warranted statement to include in an amendment.
Okay, that could be a friendly amendment to this.
That's
You
fine.
okay with that, Deputy Mayor?
I believe that any Canada Post building would have to have accessibility requirements as per operations, just as a federal government entity. So that would have to be something that is concerned. I'm certainly not against that being included in the motion. I just wanted to note that that would be something that would be required for any building like the post office.
All right. So you don't see any need to add that?
I feel that if we try to pigeonhole where they are going to be located in town, it may be frustrating. I hear Councillor Martin's concerns, but I also feel that at this point, there are 15 days. There is a letter. There is a certain amount of time. But the positive here is that the post office is still making an effort to stay within our town. It's not closing. It is expanding the services within our town. So that's a positive. They are entering into a rental agreement, which we don't know how long they're going to be in that rental space for, what their commitment is, what their thinking is. So a letter from the council that expresses our concern, our desire for them to stay within the community, and for us to have an ongoing dialogue about them, about how we can support them stay in the community and expand their service, which is what I was trying to amend the motion to. That allows us to open the door to have a longer term discussion over a period of time. So as Canada Post makes its plans as far as where it's going to keep its post offices and how it's going to roll things out, I think it allows for an opportunity for the town to speak and continue that dialogue and do the best we can then to give them a longer term option for what they can do here and help support them in that way. So I think that's the discussion that we want to have with them as a municipality. And I feel that the motion as presented now allows for that discussion. And then we can talk about where in the town, what land may be available, what other options may be there. Maybe they've done the work. I'm sure they've done the work to look at what budget do they have as far as their space and capacity is, what's available in the region, and what's their next best move. What we don't know is what is their plan, what's their timeline, what are they thinking? Do they have a 5-year plan? Do they have a 10-year plan? Do they have a 20-year plan? What does that look like? What is that commitment to the town of Torbay, which is what I'm hearing the concerns of council members being tonight, which is what I'm hoping we could open the dialogue about. Whether they move to this location or not is still within our community. It is expanding their abilities. I think at this point, it's about continuing that discussion and finding a way forward in partnership with them to support them to stay here is what the goal I hear we're trying to achieve.
Okay. Anybody else have a comment? I'm generally supportive of the motion that's on the floor now for us to have discussion with Canada Post regarding their long-term plans for remaining in the town of Torbay. That's basically what that motion says, right? And can you read back that motion, please?
Yes, I can. Motion put forward by Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Thorne-Goss, that the town of Torbay write a letter to Canada Post expressing concern about the proposed closure of the existing post office building and request a meeting with Canada Post stating council's interest to see the post office remain in the town of Torbay and to have opportunity to discuss the location and expanded services of Canada Post in community and region.
I'm just wondering if it would be better to word that as, instead of saying the proposed closure of the post office, to say the proposed relocation of the post office.
Mhm.
Right?
Yep,
Because, Deputy Mayor?
I'm nodding. I'm okay with that.
Okay, the friendly amendment there, we're still working on this motion, that the town of Torbay write a letter to Canada Post expressing concern about the proposed relocation of the current post office. And asking that we have a dialogue to discuss Canada Post long-term plans for their operations within the town of Torbay. That sound all right?
Yeah, I think that what we're discussing here is much the same when the letter's actually written. The semantics of that it will be ironed out in the letter when the correspondence goes. The
Okay.
principles of the suggested edits, I think, are much the same as the intention of what I had shared in the reworded motion. So I'm fine with that as long as it's achieving the same goal, opening the dialogue, learning about their long-term plan, and ensuring the Canada Post knows that the town of Torbay is here to work with them to have an ability for them to expand their service to the community and region within our town. Absolutely.
Right. Okay, so let's just make sure that we got our wording on this motion correct before we go forward. And can you repeat it again, please?
Excuse
Sorry.
me.
Yeah.
Mayor Scott.
Yep.
Would it be possible to have it copy and pasted in the Zoom chat so everyone can read it?
Sure.
Opposed to just listening aloud would be easier, I think. Thank you.
Okay, and can you do that, please?
I can. If you could just wait for just a couple minutes.
Yeah,
Thank
no
you.
problem.
Thank
Thank you. Anybody else have any comment, Tony, while we're waiting for that?
I think we're all on the same page. That's the bottom line to it. I don't think we should write the letter in the motion. I think the motion is to open up the doors to find out what the real plans are from Canada Post, make sure that it stays in town of Torbay, make sure that the services are maintained, make sure that folks who access the place now have the same accessibility that they can to the new area, and ensure the longevity. I think that's where, and I don't think we can write that in the motion
No.
as a letter. It's more important that the letter collects all those points. The thing is, we got to get the letter off to Canada Post and make sure that they understand that we have some overall concerns and find out what their actual long-term plans are.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, so it's there in the chat now. That looks good to me. Deputy Mayor?
I'm just reading it here now, Mayor. The town of Torbay write a letter to Canada Post expressing a concern about the proposed relocation of the current post office building and request a meeting with Canada Post, stating council's interest. This is where, for me, it gets confusing. And stating council's interest and have dialogue with Canada Post for long-term plans for the town of Torbay.
Is that okay, or is it too wordy?
I think the wording is confusing. I think here, relocation of the current post office building and request a meeting with Canada Post to discuss council's interest in, no, I think that's too wordy, Craig. If I could, the town of Torbay write a letter to Canada Post expressing a concern about the proposed relocation of the current post office building, period. The town of Torbay would like to request a meeting with Canada Post and have a dialogue about Canada Post's long-term plans in the town of Torbay.
That sounds good. Sorry, Ann, did you get that?
I did get that. Do you want me to read it back?
Yes, please.
Sorry, Ann, thank you.
Okay, resolve that the town of Torbay write a letter to Canada Post expressing concerns about the proposed, wait, now I think I'm lost.
Could you
Resolve
paste
that-
it back in there?
I can. Okay, just a moment.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Wording is there now, if you can review.
Okay, so here's the motion that's on the floor. The town of Torbay write a letter to Canada Post expressing concern about the proposed relocation of the current post office building. Torbay would like to request a meeting with Canada Post and have dialogue about their long-term plans in the town of Torbay. Is that okay with everybody?
Yes.
Okay, so it's moved by Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Thorngoss. Any additional comments?
No, I'd just like to thank Deputy Mayor for her efforts, and I'll support her motion. I think we all have a common goal of ensuring safety of staff and residents of Canada Post, and focus on long-term goals. So I'll go with consensus and support the motion. And I also want to thank Director Shorts and Sandy in planning, because they also did a lot of work and history search on this file. So thanks.
Okay, so all in favor of the amended motion?
Aye.
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 Opposed? None. Carried. So now we have to go back to the original motion. And can we give unanimous consent to withdraw that motion? Would you like to withdraw that motion, Councillor Martin?
Yes, I'll move to withdraw.
So you don't need to move it. If we got unanimous consent, you can
Okay.
withdraw it, right?
Okay, I'm fine to withdraw.
Okay, unanimous consent to withdraw that motion, man.
Thank you.
All righty. Where are we?
Permit listings.
There you go.
Thank you. Attached are permit listings for the period of January 22nd to February 4th, 2021, which form part of this motion report recommendation. Excuse me, the committee hereby tables the following motion. And motion as presented is to accept permit listings for the period of January 22nd to February 4th, 2021 as presented. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Thank you.
Carried. Thank you.
Thank you. And just a brief overview of our minutes from our Tuesday, February 2nd, 2021 Zoom meeting. We had a lengthy meeting, and we discussed the items that we had voted on in the motions report. And also myself, Mayor Scott, Director Shorts, Councillor Thorngoss attended a meeting at Kennedy's Brook subdivision to discuss different allocation of the Bournes Close subdivision and open space. We also discussed Bernice Drive open space, and we had a guest presenter, Jessica Potterster, to discuss past and future initiatives for climate change workshops. And we also discussed the water allocations, and we're going to further review that at our next committee meeting. And that's a brief overview of our minutes. If there's any questions, let me know. Other than that, that ends my report.
All right, thank you. Any questions on the planning report? No? All right, thank you, Councillor Martin.
Thank you.
All righty, moving on. Admin and finance. Take Deputy Mayor.
No, Deputy Mayor asked me to.
Councillor Pollard, don't matter.
Yeah, I'm going to ask Councillor Pollard to do that. It's pretty loud here, so I just I've asked him if he can deliver it for me on my behalf.
All right.
Thank you, Your Worship. Admin and Finance met on the 2nd of February. Unfortunately, I wasn't in attendance, so I thank Mayor Scott for stepping in, and Deputy Mayor as well for doing what she always does, and of course Director Kudla. Invoices for approval. One for EC Boom for gateway signage repairs, amount of $15,121.81. Mercer's Paving for repair pole at the Torbay Common install barrier, amount of $5,744.25. Wolsey Canada for the water detection system equipment in the amount of $27,135.42. Dexter Construction for progress payment number 2, and in terms of the gas tax project on Shays Lane, the amount of $7,992.27. Town of Portsmouth, Coast St. Phillips for the Pickle Ridge Memorial Project in the amount of $13,667.50. And that was a previous motion of council some time ago to go on that project. So it's just fulfilling the obligations that were previously voted on. A Harving Company, winter salt in the amount of $7,859.76. J.D. Miles Construction for the third claim on History House in the amount of $35,592.87. Triware for the block of time for support hours in the amount of $5,750. And Progressive Engineering for progress billing on the same gas tax project in the amount of $6,868.26, all for a total of $125,732.14. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions?
I do have a question. I wasn't at the meeting, so I don't know how much information we had around the gateway signage repairs. Seems like a hefty bill for $15,000. And if the answers aren't readily available now, we can get them for next time. Just I don't know what the extent of the signage was, and you know that's almost an amount that needed to be approved in advance because it was $15,000 and well over the $5,000 threshold.
So if we did discuss this one at the committee meeting, and this was a long-standing invoice for repairs that were done over the course of 2019, perhaps. And it was repairs over like a full 12-month period to get the gateway sign up and running. And there was numerous service calls to get it working, and like materials were used. That's why it ended up being that high.
I'm happy to speak to that too, because I believe in 2019, when that sign was not working, I was on the phone pretty much daily calling staff, asking questions about that. And I had residents contacting me who were asking, we've put all this money into putting the sign at the gateway of the town, and it's a beautiful sign, and it was not working. And so that needed to be fixed. And I think that that money spent is money well spent, because it's a gateway sign now that is used when you come into the community. There's always messaging there. It's updated. It's another tool and resource that we have to share information with the community. So I feel that with the work that's been done to repair that, this has been a long-standing invoice. It's been sitting there for quite some time. And when it came to my attention at the committee meeting, I felt that it was important to have it paid, because the work has been done. The sign has been working nonstop ever since, and it's a good tool. There's no sense in investing in the sign and not having it work. And it's a good tool to have in the community to let people know what's happening. So I feel that if the work was done, and if we've been invoiced for it, then we need to pay the contractor that's done the work for us to make sure that sign is operational. That was the discussion in committee.
Okay.
A question.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Councilor Goss.
I guess I'm looking at this now, and it was bad enough that it would have been there in 2020, but how come it was there since 2019 and not paid? Because obviously it wasn't in this year's budget, and I'm assuming that, I guess looking at the date that's there, it was taken out of last year's budget, but how come it wasn't paid in 2019?
Director Kudla, could you provide that information for council, please?
Well, I was not here when this was going on, but there was a disagreement when the bill came in about how high it was, and it was not being resolved it hasn't been resolved to date. And we are still calling EC Boone to support us with other work, and it's been a long time. So that's why.
Did they give any clarification on why it was so high?
They did provide us with a very detailed invoice that outlined every single service call and every product that was used in the repair work, and it was a very detailed invoice.
Okay.
Mary,
Thank you.
The information that we had when we discussed it at committee was that and I hadn't seen it at committee level, and Director Kudla brought it to our attention so that we would know that this was a outstanding invoice that was waiting for payment. And when we asked Director Kudla about it, she was very clear and said, this has been there. The work was done over the period of time. It's a very detailed invoice with the information in it. And there was a decision made not to bring it to our attention, but that's not her responsibility or directive. When it came to our attention and we understood what was there, committee made a decision to, with the information that we have, bring it forward and make that payment. Because if this company has done the work and they provided a very detailed outline of what parts were used, what time, and what was done, then there's no reason why we shouldn't make that payment and have that sorted.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. All right. Councilor Martin?
Thanks. So I've got a question that's more so for Director Winter. I just want to make sure, since we invested all that money, has there been any other functionality issues since with that sign? And is it fully functional and operational without any issues today?
So the Department of Infrastructure and Public Works doesn't do anything with that sign. That falls under the, I think it's under the CAO's office and the communications department. All we do is clear snow and we maintain the foliage around it.
Oh, okay, thank you.
All right. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried, unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you, Director.
So, okay, next is a motion based on a request from Holy Trinity High School to contribute to the Teacher Staff Appreciation Week taking place February 12th to the 8th, 12th to, I guess, starting February 12th.
18th. Sorry about that.
That's no problem. So the motion reads that the town of Torbay donate 25 $10 gift cards from Traditional Coffee House and Deli and a $100 gift card from Foodland as requested. $350 donation in total. So moved.
Second.
Second question?
I do have a question. Well, I'm not, listen, I dearly love Teacher Staff and Appreciation Week. I don't know how the town actually can get involved with a donation of this nature for that particular thing when there's so many other potential appreciations out there that, you know, it's almost like the teachers and staff should have a big thank you from all the students in the school. Thank you from the parents and things of that nature, and not. I don't think it's a town spend in this particular situation. But that's just my opinion. Not to downgrade or take away from anything teachers and staff do, because I think Appreciation Week is tickety boo. I look at it as something that is really outside the purview of the town.
Tony, when they asked me for that, I think what they indicated is that under normal circumstances, they would not approach the town for this. But because of the conditions around COVID-19, they weren't able to do their traditional fundraising that they normally do every year that they use to pay for those gifts for the teachers. So they asked the town for this year, would we mind contributing to it? That's my understanding. It's not, and I understand where you're coming from with regards to the different organizations and stuff. I think that we are pretty good the way that we do our donations, and I can understand, particularly with COVID, with the additional pressures around teachers right now. I'm happy to support this, to tell you the truth.
I do that, and I do apologize for the excitement that's happening in the background if you can hear that. But we're in Zoom, and it's a long meeting for kids. Stay still or quiet. I'm with the mayor here. We discussed this, and This is a situation, especially right now with the increased COVID numbers and teachers who are going into work in the day. And I know that's their job and that's what they're there to do, but it's a very stressful time for a lot of people. And traditional fundraising is not something that we're able to do at this point in a safe and ongoing, consistent way. And to be honest with you, with people losing their jobs and layoffs, it's not something that is very easy really to do either at this point. So for such a small amount of money to show such a big amount of gratitude for the teachers and what they do and the number of families that they touch just by showing up, working with and giving their best to our students every single day, I have no problem to support this motion as presented, especially when the gift cards are coming from businesses in our community that could always use a shot in the arm during COVID as well. So I support this motion full-heartedly.
Anything else? Mary?
Well, I know where you're coming from with it. I find that it's precedent setting, and you can say all you want that it's only for this year, but if you give it 1 year, the expectation is going to be there of another year. And if you give it to this school, I sit on the school council for the elementary school and get involved with the staff appreciation week by actually preparing their whatever they have for staff appreciation. So while I look at supporting this, I think that the other two schools should receive the same amount, and to signal out one school where there's two others in their community, I think that it would be ridiculous. It'd be a smack in the face for the other two schools. And I think $350 is probably a little high anyway. And I think that the other two schools should be included in there.
Well, the other two schools didn't ask us for anything, and they have specific requirements.
Obviously they had spoken to you, and it's something that was never done in the past. And I think just because one may have had a conversation with you, Mr. Mayor, with regards to looking for a donation, I think that if the communication had been there, I think that we owe it to the other two schools as well. And I would not want to be part of precedent setting or to find out that the other schools that never asked for it got looked over. And I think that it's something that we shouldn't be doing, because again, it's going to be any kind of appreciation and recognition. And we can look at everything that's taken place in the community, and we can look at COVID and the stress and the mental anguish and everything that it's had. So it's precedent setting. And if it's going to go through, I think that we need to do it for the other two schools.
Well, one correction there on that. This came to me, like lots of communications come to me, and I sent it off to staff to deal with at the committee level. There's nothing to do with me, just that it was brought forward that way. But the town does a lot to support all schools in anyway, whatever. This motion is before us now, so we'll just deal with this one.
Just a heads up, I'll have a new request come in tomorrow for one for the elementary school.
That's fine. And the only reason they had to send it from a school, and it has to be a specific way because it has to meet the school board regulations and requirements.
That's okay. I'll use the same one that's there.
Go ahead. I mean, I don't know why this is so vindictive. It's just a request.
Do something for one school and not do it for another. All the teachers are the same, and they're putting their heart and soul into it. And I think to have it from one school and represent one school with giving them a donation, I think that it's ridiculous for the other two schools.
But
so
Mary,
give it all or nobody.
That's fair enough. But the other two schools never requested anything. We don't. We got a request, so we deal with what we get. If another request comes from another school, we'll deal with that one when it comes. I mean, it's only common sense.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody else have a comment? Justin, go ahead.
Thank you. Just a brief comment. I do understand what everyone's saying, and I'm in agreement with Councillor Thorngass and Deputy Mayor. I think normally it's not something that we would do, but given the times, I think it is a special circumstance, and I would support this motion as a special circumstance, and I would also support a request from the other schools as a special circumstance as well. So if we vote on this now as a special circumstance, I'm in full support. I don't think it'd be precedent setting then. But we are in a pandemic, and we do have a lot of schools shut down, and we have a lot of teachers in the community. Deputy Mayor gave a proclamation earlier for Allied Youth, which is Mr. Hammond's also a teacher in the community. We have other teachers in the community, so we're not passing a big monetary amount, $350, and I think given everything that the teachers do, I think we should proceed as a special circumstance.
Anybody else? Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Peggy? Is Peggy still here? Opposed?
Nay.
Okay, Council Pollard opposed. Carried. Thank you.
Sorry, I muted myself, so I may as well continue on. So I guess the rest of the reports are attached. I was going to do the Q4 update, but the information is there attached. I think in the short strokes on that, we have done pretty well in 2020 in relation to the budget. It's really hard to address each individual item at this point in time, so maybe we'll do that again later. But we came out ahead mainly because of overall savings overall, because we were down from an activity base and a spend base because of COVID. And included in some of the revenue figures is our carry forward for next year in terms of the $464,000, give or take, that we have for the COVID startup, and they'll be carried forward and used in our 2021 budget. Other than that, once you get into the projects, it's really hard to look at the pluses and minuses, because we didn't spend everything we had to spend, because some projects were on hold and were budgeted, and they will be carried forward to this year. But on the whole, take some time to run down through. If you got any questions, anybody out in the general public as well can certainly email me, and I'll answer questions as best we can. But overall, we've done better than budget last year, and I think that's certainly will help us out in this COVID year. And obviously we took that into consideration when we did the budget, and didn't increase the rates, and managed to keep the budget balanced. That's all I have to say on that, Your Worship, and so ends the report.
All right, thank you. Questions? All right. Economic Development and Tourism, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. The Economic Development and Tourism Committee met on January 28th from 6:30 to 7 p.m. I think that might be a typo, because I believe, oh no, never mind, sorry, we commenced at 5:32. So I'll say we weren't a half hour. Items that we discussed the Economic Strategic Roadmap. Tract provided a very detailed presentation to us in the committee of the whole meeting, as we discussed earlier. And we will be sharing that document with the public in the next foreseeable future. We will be discussing this now at our next committee meeting, and there were actionable items in there that we can build into a work plan for this year. So some really, really good recommendations, good overall discussion about what the town can and will look like, and what we can do from an economic development perspective. So quite pleased with the work that Tract did for us. Very interested to share that with the public, and very interested to move forward with the recommendations. some of the recommendations that were there, they also recommended engagement, setting up committees to work on economic development initiatives and the development of town centers and engaging technical expertise and those sorts of things. So again, really looking forward to sharing that. The Pickle Ridge Memorial Project, the call for public consultation has gone out. Very happy to see that a couple of members from the town of Torbay were interested. One was with the Folk Arts Council, and the other person has served with me in past committees. She's fabulous and has been up at the site. So that's excellent. Information was shared with the most recent grant applications by various departments. The committee discussed business interests and discussions with steps to prepare the investment-ready information for potential clients. So there are some clients that are interested in the town and development, and we talked about putting together some updated information packages that we could share with anyone who may be interested to do business with or look at startups in the community. So our economic development tourism officer is working on that. We also discussed the governing model for the History House, and we reviewed the preliminary draft of the composition agreements and policies. So we are looking, Mr. Mayor, to get that on the committee of the whole discussion when we can, to move that agenda forward. We had the direction from council as to which way to go, but I'd really like to get council to have a look at the specific recommendations from committee on that. And once we've got that on the, hopefully next, if not next couple of committee of the whole agendas, we'll get that back to the interested group that joined us for the discussion on what that's going to look like. And we can open that up and invite members of the public if you'd like to participate in that as well. And then once we've got that final feedback, we can bring it back to council for adoption and get things moving on the structure and the recruitment and the MOU or whatever the agreement is going to be with the board that's going to be structured. So we'll look forward to our discussions with council on that and request a slot on committee of the whole to have that conversation. And that's it from an economic development perspective. If anyone's got any questions, happy to share and discuss by all means.
Questions? No? Okay, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Public Works. Councilor Thorngas.
We had our meeting on February 3rd. Councillor Pollard and Director Winter. History House, notice coming along over there this evening, they had part of the overhang there over the gallery and everything that was removed. They're moving right along with the final stages and they'll soon be ready for the interior design. Stormwater management plan implementation. I asked Brian, I don't know if there's anything in there. He said proposal will be coming soon, but I think that's sometime in March. Is it not, Brian?
Yeah, we should have that for our next meeting.
Okay. And the old depot renovations project, that's coming along. The tender should be published, tender package, sometime between now and the 18th. And the other dates and what have you are there. So if you just move up the screen a bit. And the flow meters, leak detection portion of the project scheduled to start the second week of February, weather permitting. It will take 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks. And the director is still looking at different possible suppliers for the salt and sand storage building. And sidewalks, the tender should be ready, posting late March, early April. And I've asked for the traffic calming. It's funny because we say over the winter, but before you know it, another few weeks, winter is going to be over. So hopefully we'll have something on that for March month. And the road work project, you got some of the roads and new roads added in there. So we'll have more information on that in the next while. We've got to look at the gas tax money and to see, I think when we went through the budget, we talked about the remaining gas tax will go towards the roads and try to get as much as we can done with the paving and resurfacing. So other than that, the ongoing projects, if anybody got any questions, feel free to ask.
Deputy Mayor?
Thank you. Councillor Thorngass, just back to the sidewalk discussion. Great work. Thank you. This is all really exciting. I'm very happy to see all of this. Just back to the sidewalk discussion, 2 questions. Before the tender package goes out, will council receive a briefing understanding what is in that tender package and what the scope is going to be, what we're going to be doing with that?
I don't think we've normally done that. And Brian, what are your plans?
Once we get the package, I guess that could be shared with committee and then if with council, if that's what everybody wants to do. I mean, the basics of it is going to be, we already got the areas defined where it's going to go. And so it's sidewalk is a sidewalk at the end of the day, I guess.
Absolutely. I just feel that if a resident is interested to ask a question of any of us about what is the scope and plan, I don't need to know the engineering stuff of it, but it would be nice to have, once you've got a defined package of exactly where we're going to start, where we're going to end, on which side, where the lights are going in for the fire department, that kind of a high level walkthrough of what's in that tender package. I'd certainly be interested to see that.
Sure, I don't see any harm in that.
Yeah, and the only reason for that is just so that if a resident does ask, that we can answer that and have an understanding ourselves. The other thing I'm wondering, it's amazing, and I'm really excited to see that we're going to have a tender package ready for posting late March, early April. I'm just curious about the process, Brian, once that's done, because if we're looking at that for April, I'm assuming we're going to have a month where we allow for the response to that package, for that to get out for, people to look at it, prepare a response, get back to us. So then we're into May. Then once we've gotten that in May, and I'm assuming, so my timelines could be wrong, you can let me know what the reality is. But even if we have a month and we get back in May, we've got to evaluate it. How fast can we turn that around? Once that's done, does it have to go to the province for approval and permissions? And I'm assuming where it's a provincial road, that might be the case, which makes it a tight timeline to be getting into June for a turnaround to actually get shovels in the ground. Could you give me an idea of what that timeline looks like when it comes to, if it goes out late March, early April, the turnaround for that package to be, for contractors look at it, get it back in, get evaluated, get it awarded. Once the awarding is done, then what has to happen from a provincial government perspective to make sure that we've got what we need to do to make the changes on the roads. And what's the absolute earliest, if all goes well, that we could hope that shovels will be going in the ground on those sidewalks?
I don't have a definite date or month on that. I would think that if it was tendered in April month, then there'd be no trouble to have it awarded by late April, early May. And like say, I would suspect that it'll be probably June month that we'd be actually physically seeing stuff happen.
Are there permissions that you need from the province after we do that turnaround?
We already got permission from the province to put our sidewalks in place. Obviously, they're reviewing all these packages as well as where funding is coming from them. So that would all be part and parcel to the process.
Okay, so will that happen before we award the contract?
I think we need approval from them. I'm not 100% sure. I think we need approval from the province before we actually award as well. But again, all that is part of the process that when we work with municipal affairs on those items.
Would you mind having a conversation with committee about this when you guys meet next, and maybe providing that timeline and expectations to us as council? So again, if a resident is asking the question, we have an idea of what that looks like. Because if someone asks me tomorrow, Trina, are those sidewalks going to be put in June? I don't have any expertise or honest understanding of meeting expectations with that, and I don't know how much of that is relying on provincial approvals as well. So I'm just asking the question because it'd be great for us to be aware if somebody
Sure.
asks a question that we could share that information back.
Yeah, certainly I can get those tighter timelines. And
Yeah.
also with the drawings that you were referring to first there, we always post those to My Torbay site as well. So if you go on My Torbay now, you'll see as projects that we did last summer as they progressed with pictures and drawings and all that goes on as well. So everybody can view it, right?
Awesome. Thanks,
So
Brian.
that's normally how we share it with the public, or that's our new way of sharing it, I guess.
Yeah, and I don't know how many people really understand how we're using that. So maybe if we ask Julie to do some more communication around how we're sharing that information so the public can know to go have a look at it.
Certainly.
It's nice sometimes for us to just remind the public how we're communicating so they, because me in particular, you know, I miss some of this stuff sometimes and I'm come back asking questions. So if we're missing it, you know, I think it's important to know that the public may. So, you know, are you interested about sidewalks? Here's where you find the information. Want an update on what's happening at the History House? You know, have a look online. Here's where you find that info, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
But
that's a good idea. We certainly remind the public how we're sharing information.
Absolutely.
I was going to mention that because it's all there. The timelines are there. There's check marks to say what stage you're at. Everything is on that mytorbay.site with all of our projects that are ongoing.
Yeah. So I think that's great for us to share that again so that people will look there. Because thank you, Brian. I wouldn't have thought probably myself to even look there, to be honest with you. And go ahead. Sorry.
No, sorry, you go ahead.
No, I was just going to say thank you for your work on this. This is a great update and report of all the work that you're doing in Transportation Works, and I really appreciate it. So thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome.
All right. Any other questions? Councillor Martin had an issue with his phone or computer. He died, so he dropped off, and he'll get back on and recorded when he left the meeting. Hopefully he'll get back on in a minute. But to that point, Recreation and Community Services. Oh, there he is. He's back. Are you back, Councillor Martin? Councillor Martin, you back?
Do we have any idea when Councillor Roach left? Because we're going to need that for any votes that we've.
She's not left. She's still here.
Is she?
I think. Yeah.
I'm back. Sorry, my MacBook battery died. I thought I was plugged in, but I wasn't.
All right, you're up. Recreation and Community Services.
Okay. I've just got to. Okay, I'm going to go by the moderator's minutes because mine aren't loaded back up yet. Excuse me. So we had a Recreation and Community Services meeting on February 2nd, 2021. We had a joint meeting with Planning, which I'm also part of, and Councillor Gallant called in. Myself and Director Auchinleck Ryan were in attendance as at the committee, and later on in the meeting we had Councillor Thorne Goss, Mayor Scott and Director Short join us. We discussed the acoustics in the recreation centre with regards to items that we'd like to get moving with regards to getting that remedied. Director of Recreation Community Services advised committee that the Director of Finance is working with ACOA on the town file, and Director will update Finance on where things are to in the coming weeks. We also had some correspondence concerning tree planting. The Director of Recreation Community Services advised committee of correspondence that was received referenced tree planting in memory of a loved one at the Upper Tree Corner Pond facility. We discussed that, and it's okay to proceed within the spring and summer. The staff will follow up to determine the area of planting the tree, and Director Winter is also engaged. We also discussed some funding for the Coronavirus Emergency Relief Fund, and Director Auchinleck Ryan advised committee that she applied for funding and $2,000 was approved for the town of Torbay. There's attached correspondence. We also discussed the Killicoast Games. The Director advised committee staff will be attending a meeting in the host community of the Killicoast Games, which this time is Lucky Bay, Middle Cove, Outer Cove. And they like feedback on what towns are thinking. This won't be a decision-making meeting, only collecting thoughts. And Director will bring that back to next meeting. Now, unfortunately, we have the news announced yesterday and today, so that's likely going to impact that rollout. We have summer career placements, which is likely also going to be affected by COVID-19, unfortunately. And Director Ryan advised that she put an application in for some small-scale camp funding, and we also had an advisory from Director Ryan that the Lions Club offered a donation to purchase yoga equipment, which we're very happy to hear. They were going to sponsor one yoga class and one healthy snack for this class, and this was intended for adults 60 years and older. We thank the Lions Club for their kind donation and stewardship in the municipality. And Kingsman recognition update. Director Ryan also advised us that the installation of the plaque would take place on February 4th, which should already now be installed. And the next step is to install the original Kingsman plaque on a rock face outside the community center. Remaining cost for this install will come from programming. Excuse me. Myself and Director Auchinleck Ryan and Councillor Gallant had a detailed discussion on the shed for the recreation centre, as the former depot is no longer available to Community Services Department. We will require a shed for snow blowers, gas, leaf blower, etc., for groundskeeping for the community centre, and this would make more logistical sense as well. So staff won't have to drive over to the town hall or out to the new depot to collect equipment. They can have it on site. Committee discussed this. Would like to review allocating money in the budget for a time in Torbay for a shed to be installed in the Torbay Common. As during COVID-19, there are currently no large gatherings and do not anticipate seeing any large festivals or events in 2021. So that's what we envision for that. And as I mentioned back in the planning report, there was some discussion on the Kennedy's Brook open space. We had a follow-up to the joint meeting, and we also went back and asked for some more engineering plan details, area calculations, and costing to be able to consider a potential amendment for phase 1. Bernice Drive open space. This was a bridge over to our planning meeting. This was also something that we discussed then, and discussions were concerning open space options for proposed future subdivision extension to Bernice Drive. Both committees noted for any new subdivision is the developer's responsibility to convey up to 10% of the development area for physical open space purposes. It was noted that there's currently no community open space in that area, and that the provision of physical open space such as similar local park or walkway easements is what is being sought. The committee requested that the developer provide further detail as to how they're planning on accommodating the 10% provision, and Director Shorts was following up. And I believe other than that, there is some correspondence attached, and that ends my report for community services.
All right, thank you. Questions? Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Okay, I've got several actually. The first question I have is about the acoustics. I'm looking for an update, if I could get one, on what's happening with the situation with the ACOA funding and what's happening with that. If Director Kudla, could you provide an update to us about where that is right now and what's happening with it?
Yeah, I am in contact with the COA right now, and I had just submitted a formal request to allocate the funding under the community center project to the acoustics. Sorry, I just realized my camera wasn't on. And they have been very positive and warm with the discussion. So I expect an answer within a couple weeks.
So this is the money that My understanding of this is that this is the money that was provided in the Torbay Common Community Campaign for the donation that was provided, the $300,000 or $400,000 that was supposed to be allocated towards the acoustics. Is that the same money that you were talking about?
So yes, this was the funding that was originally intended for enhancements at the Torbay Community Center. And so far we have spent about $35,000 of $300,000 allocated to this project on signage completed at the community center. And so the acoustics would be the second project we're putting towards this funding.
So the 35,000 is spent of the 300,000, which would have been approved last year before-ish now at this point?
Yes, so those expenditures occurred in October 2019 and the funding was claimed in May of 2020.
And is there any deadline on that $300,000 worth of funding that we're sitting on that we have not spent from ACOA?
Yeah, the original deadline, I'm gonna have to double check, but the original deadline of this funding was, I believe, back in October 2020. And so when I was discussing about the amendment for the acoustics, we were also discussing about extending the deadline to for this project. We were anticipating the acoustics would be complete by the end of the summer if approved, and we can move on this timely. And then for the remaining projects that were originally funded under this agreement, which included the amphitheater, exterior signage, and AV equipment, we are kind of under the impression that we don't have the funding to complete all those projects, but I have been reviewing our donation file through the capital campaign. I'm thinking there's a way we can allocate some of those dollars raised to complete some of those projects as originally planned.
Thank you, Director Kudla. I feel it's really important that if we announced, and we were very excited about a $300,000 donation that ACOA was making of federal government money that would be invested into our brand new community center, that we should maximize the ability to get that return for the members of our public, and that any future costs, you know, that we can roll out under that is spent. And I also think it's very important that we make sure that that is spent in a timely fashion so that there is not an expiry date on that. And then we potentially could end up losing that funding. So I will look forward to recommendations to council on how we get the rest of that looked after and get those projects done, because my understanding is that the public is expecting to see the amphitheater and the acoustics and the signage and the things that we talked about that were supposed to happen under that. And I do know COVID has been a year to slow things down, but I feel it's really important that we resume that discussion and make sure that we get that money spent so we don't lose it. So thank you for the update on that. The second thing I wanted to address is the idea of the memory tree at Upper Three Corner. We had a request similar to that at the Jack Byrne within the last year as well. And I just was curious to see how much detailed discussion has been held around that, as into where would we plant those trees, how are we going to protect that area and make sure that it's not impacted by snow clearing, those sorts of things. I think this is a really good idea. I think it's an excellent idea actually to have somewhere in the community where people can have a bench in memory of someone, plant a tree in memory of someone. Beautiful, quiet, wonderful, natural space to go remember your fond memories of your loved ones. Very important. But I'm just curious to see how much discussion has happened around actually doing this, and what is it going to look like? How are we going to make sure that if we do it for one person that we can do it for other people? So if there hasn't been a plan, you know, detailed look into this, I'd like to see it done and maybe looked at in a broader perspective of not just that site, but are there other things that we can look at across the community that might be might allow family members to have a space where they can go remember their loved ones. I think it's a great idea. I just would like to see some planning around it. I'd also like to thank the Lions for their donation and the work here to bring yoga to the yoga equipment. And I believe my understanding is that they were going to offer some some yoga training there as well, I believe, for seniors. So they're always doing fabulous stuff. Just want to extend a thank you to them for that. And my last question is around the Kinsmen. I'm so excited to see that we've got a report here that on February 4th, the install for the Kinsmen plaque was there. Just looking for some information around that, though, because I know when I was involved in this committee, there were some Kinsmen members who were really passionate about making sure that the recognition of all the work the Kinsmen have put into the past Kinsmen Center and that site is recognized. So I'm just curious to see were there any members of the Kinsmen invited when this happened? Did we do any pictures? Have we shared any information about this? How are we communicating that in the community to let people know and make sure that the Kinsmen know and are recognized with the installation of that plaque? So those are the questions from my end.
For the Kinsmen, Deputy Mayor, I've been in constant contact with them on everything that's happened to this point. And while they were invited on Thursday, February 4th, they couldn't attend, but they know down the road there's actually going to be a more official piece for them at this point in time when it's all installed. So right now, the original Kinsmen plaque is with the company that's working on putting it on the rock face, and I'm hoping to have that done within the next week. I was hoping it'd be done this week with everything going on with COVID right now. It'd probably be extended, but I will follow up towards the end of the week and see if this will be done. And yes, the Kinsmen will definitely have an invite to the Common where there'll be a more official ceremony taking place.
Yeah, I remember very well how important that recognition is to many members of our community and past members of our community, and work on that.
And I also have those two chains of office for the Kinsmen and the Connects, the presidents, here in my office there at Town Hall. So we can make use of those two at some point.
Sounds good.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? Oh, thanks for God. So sorry, but this is a live meeting and I wasn't expecting it to be this live. Atlantic Mayor's Congress, I sent an email the other day to them to just to check in about our attention in May, just to express, actually I did express some concern with them that maybe with the current conditions, I want to see about the I guess our intention to still host that. So I haven't heard back from you yet, but when I get an update, I'll let you know. Intergovernmental affairs, don't have much. There, Jack Byrne.
Thank you, Mayor. There was a set of meeting minutes that were sent out. So we'll have those included in the next package. Sorry, Ann, I didn't get back to you in time to confirm that they were meant for this package. We are going to have to revisit the meetings. I know that Lauren has sent out information to the board to set up a next meeting, and that we were doing that prior to the COVID changes. So we've got to find our feet and we will get a meeting set. We were looking within the next couple of weeks, but with space and COVID, we've been just trying to make that work. I would like to update the council that the arena is closed. Lauren did reach out yesterday and inform the board of the chief medical officer's update, and it will remain closed following those guidelines. So we'll see how that rolls, and we'll certainly keep council updated when we have our next meeting and where to from there. If there's any questions, I'm certainly happy to entertain them.
Oh, any questions? Okay, thank you.
There have been people who've asked questions about the COVID safety protocols that are in place for the Jack Byrne Arena. just to make sure that the public does understand that we are working with Northeast United Hockey, the association on that. We have been in touch with Service NL to ask the questions, and it was after all the looking into it, understood that each arena has a separate agreement with Service NL on how they're set up. We cannot have a maximum of any more than 100 people in the arena at any given point. With the layout and changeover of time, right now we're not in a place to allow any more than one person per child in the arena. So that was for safety reasons, for the ability to play. With the current COVID changes now, we don't know when we'll be able to resume or how that's going to look. We're all hoping that a safe sooner than later resume will happen, but that will be determined as things roll out with this latest surge in COVID numbers. So we'll keep people and we'll keep council informed to the best of our ability. But that's about it from my end. Councillor Pollard, do you have anything else to add on that?
No, nothing from me, and just look forward to the next meeting so we can see what impact it's going to have on us financially moving forward. I know it's going to start to unfold again, unfortunately, towards the negative side of things, I guess, but we just have to hold the line until we find out exactly what falls out from COVID in the next coming days and weeks, I guess.
Yeah.
That's it.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. The Northeast Avalon Joint Council, Councillor Thorngoss.
We have a meeting tomorrow night, and we haven't seen the agenda or got the copy off the last minutes. I guess Holly was off on Friday, and then with everything being closed on Monday. So
Just came out tonight.
Okay.
I got it. I got it around 10 to 9.
Oh, very good then. So
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, I don't have anything to update because the minutes and that were in there from the last meeting.
All right. Thank you. The RNC is on the next one. I guess, Julie, give a quick update. 30 seconds.
Okay. So this was the second meeting that was held in the last 8 weeks, and all the area municipalities in Northern Avalon, so Wallin, Flat Rock, Logie Bay, Middle Cove, Outer Cove, Porch Cove, St. Phillips, Pooch Cove, and Torbay. I attended on your behalf, Mayor. It was a very interesting meeting, first time I attended, with the ramping up of some of the requested surveillance and patrols. They reported that they issued 296 tickets in the region. That's out of 691 on the Avalon. They've certainly seen a reduction in the ATV reporting, and really think that's a successful initiative, adding a team to patrolling. They also now are able to do LiDAR laser for speeding, as well as they're equipped now for cannabis testing. And in terms of next steps, they're looking at maybe that we can get video messaging from the RNC on ATVs on the individual towns' websites. We talked about neighborhood watch, and every municipality is certainly looking at the whole civic numbering issues and trying to improve that for emergency response, and maybe at addressing some of the drunk driving concerns. That's it.
Perfect. And thank you very much for attending. And I know Councillor Thorngoss really wanted to go too, but I guess she missed the email that I sent her with the invite. But maybe next time we'll go, Mary, me and you, or me and Julia, or whoever. Two of us will go anyway.
Yes.
But it's a really good, it's a good initiative, and it's a nice opportunity for us as a town to be able to get in there and give our 2 cents and find out exactly what they're doing and be able to report back to the residents. This is what the RNC are doing in our town, and this is the improvements that they're doing. 300 tickets since 8 weeks, since the last meeting that we had. Like that's a lot. So, that is certainly going to get the message out to people, certainly if they start getting tickets like that, for sure. Thank you. Torbay Volunteer Fire Department, Councillor Martin.
Thank you. I have quite a large report, so please bear with me.
Oh,
I'm just
you
kidding.
better be lying.
Just kidding. The fire department met last week on the 1st for their semi-monthly meeting. I was off on the 1st and 2nd, so I wasn't able to attend. The next meeting is on the 15th, which is this coming Monday, and I'll be in attendance and have a report the following meeting to bring forward. That's it. Thank you. And minutes are enclosed.
Great. Thanks. All good. UMC committee meeting is coming up on February 20 something. It's either the 20th or the 21st. It's on a Sunday, I believe, Sunday morning. I got an email or something. Yeah, okay. Sunday, February 21st, 9 o'clock. So I'll have some order. I'll report back after that, I guess. No notice of motion. New business, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Worship. A couple of things. I'd like to thank the CBN Joint Council and the Southern Shore Joint Councils for inviting me to their meetings as the Avalon M&L Director. I'd also like to thank Craig Pollitt for working with me and Holly Coles to work to set up some meetings to have communication between the M&L board and the Joint Council. I feel it's really important to have these conversations and communications across the communities in the Avalon. So just wanted to extend a thank you to them and look forward to participating in the future meetings and to work with M&L to make sure that we can communicate with the communities and have the clear conversations about what's happening in the region. There's no time like now to make sure that we're having clear communication about what's happening at municipal levels. So I think it's also important to have the conversation about change with the local COVID situation. I'd like to thank Dr. Janice Fitzgerald for her work on this and the people who are doing their best to keep us safe. I'd like to thank the Newfoundlanders and Labradorians who've been following the COVID rules and parameters and doing their best to keep us safe. And I'd like to thank our staff. I know that when things changed again this week very quickly, our staff mobilized, and I know at the arena and with town, they were ready to resume work and address whatever they could and do the best they can for the public. So big thank you there. I'd also like to thank my kids. They've been here. There's been a lot of barking and playing and excitement during the council meeting tonight, and they've been more than good while Mom is doing a council meeting. And you're right, Mayor, it has been a long one, and partly that's my fault. So, but that's what it is when you're doing your job. I'd like to thank Councillor Pollard for delivering the finance part of the meeting tonight, so we could hear that a little more clearly. The last thing I want to mention very quickly is I'm wearing a pair of earrings tonight that were made by a young resident in our community. And she's a little girl. She's in grade 8 at Juniper Ridge, and her name is Katie Turpin. And she makes fabulous jewelry. And it's just a hobby and a pastime that she enjoys. But you know, it's really nice to see young people in our community take a leadership role, and I think she's a budding entrepreneur. So from an economic development lens, I'd just like to do a little shout out to Katie Turpin this evening and thank her for the earrings. They're gorgeous. And if anybody's looking for awesome homemade earrings, let me know. I'll see if I can hook you up. That's it for me. Be safe, everybody. And hopefully things will settle back out in the next little bit, and we'll get back to a more normal way of living than what we're heading into right now. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Councillor Martin.
Thank you. I want to thank MHA persons, but we did it earlier in the meeting. I do want to thank everyone for adapting so quickly to the coronavirus situation that's unfortunately bloomed yesterday and today. I'm sure by Sunday it will be a lot worse, but I just wanted to reiterate to everyone, you know, to make sure you follow good news sources to avoid any fake news or misinterpretations. And we're in a much better circumstance than we were when this first came out. We know what we're dealing with. We have mechanisms in place. So, I'm hopeful that we won't go into a complete lockdown again, given everything that it's impacted on everyone's mental health and small businesses and employment and whatnot. So, I encourage everyone to stay positive and proactive and, work together to put this behind us sooner rather than later. And other than that, that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Who's next on the list? Councillor Pollard? Did you pass?
Thank you, Worship. No, I didn't pass, no. I was going to say thanks to Kev Carson, which we already did. I wanted to reiterate as well the thanks to Dr. Fitzgerald. And I was watching today and yesterday and just thinking about where she stands on a daily basis and how she looks out at everybody else and tells everybody to stay calm and watch out for mental health. And just thinking, if you're in her shoes, how nice it was when everything started to calm down and get down to the very low numbers, 1, 2, and zeros on a daily basis. And then all of a sudden have it blow up in your face and end up 11, 30 today, who knows how many tomorrow. Just the turnaround in mental anguish that must put on somebody like Dr. Fitzgerald, who has our best interest in mind on a daily basis and who certainly puts her best face forward and takes a lot of the questions, and we all sit in the background waiting for directives from her and her staff to see how we move forward, because I know from where I sit on a daily basis, it's really hard to try to maneuver through it all. So I can only imagine, what pressure she has on her. And it just struck me today when I was looking at her and some of her actions, and I was saying, boy, there's a lot of stress in those shoes. So I just want to say, kudos to her and her team, and thanks for everything she's doing. I'm not sure how much people reach out to her on a daily basis, but certainly my thoughts went out to her, especially today when I watched. And I just want to say thanks for everything that her and her team do on a daily basis.
All right, thank you. All right, back to me. I just want to say congratulations to Team Perry Curling, who the town of Torbay sponsors. They're a great group of young curlers who this year played in their first ever tankard. Now, they didn't win it to go away to the Briar, but they learned a lot. I mean, it was a big step up for them to play in that tournament for the first time. And I just want to say congratulations to them, and that, it's nice to see those young people get out and do their best like that, particularly when the town of Torbay, when we're one of their sponsors. Also, I just want to say thank you to our staff again for acting quickly as the COVID updates change and the circumstances change, and we had to change how we operate our business. And it just goes to show that we have good professionals here to be able to on a dime turn and get that stuff done and change direction and be like that. I know it's stressful. And I'd also like to thank my daughter goes to the high school. I know that her and her friends and a lot of them are really stressed out now over the COVID with the cases in Mount Pearl, knowing that our school plays sports against their school and they're all intermingled, and it's an extra burden placed on our teachers right now to deal with those students at the school and try and keep everybody calm and keep themselves calm. So there's a lot of pressure to go around and a lot of thanks to go around. And with that, I think that's it. Where's my agenda? And did we get any questions come in over the Q&As?
No, there are none.
All right, thank you very much. Our next public council meeting is scheduled for February 26th, 2021. February 22nd, 2021. It's in a couple of weeks, so I guess we'll have an update before that on how we're going to proceed with that meeting at that time, if it'll be another Zoom or if it'll be back in the chambers in person, but that is out of our hands. We'll take our advice and our direction from the good Dr. Fitzgerald, and hopefully things will start to look up over the next week. So everybody be safe, and watch out for yourself and your neighbors. And with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn, please. Moved by Deputy Mayor, second by Councillor Pollard. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Adjourn. Thank you. Thanks, everybody.